Welcome everyone. Today we have John Salerno here talking to us. He is a professional bookie and he is with US Bookmaking. And so John, thanks so much for being here. Do you want to give everyone kind of a brief rundown of who you are, what you're doing, and kind of what you have your hands in?
Sure. Yeah. John Salerno here. We're a sports wagering service providing company. We do bookmaking services, a lot of consulting work. We bring bookmaking technology, and we mainly work with tribal casinos and smaller casino operators around the United States. We're involved in the DC market for Class B operators, such as AllBets that hopefully will be coming on soon.
Ooh.
And right now we do the bookmaking services for the Grand Central bar location over in off of, what is that, Ashley Morgan or whatever the name of it, the neighborhood is there. The other clients we have are in New Mexico, Colorado, Michigan, North Dakota, and recently in New Jersey. The Ocean Resort in Atlantic City is a location that we service. And mainly my background though is I'm a third generation bookmaker, and we've had operations out in Nevada going back to the 1970s.
Wow.
The goes back to my grandfather had a location on First Street, right next door to the Golden Nugget, if you're familiar with downtown Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That actual location is gone now. There's a Golden Nugget Tower sitting where that building was, but yeah, we had that location in the 1970s, grew the business through the 80s and 90s into a chain of sports books in Nevada, numbered in the over 100 locations. We've sold that previous business actually to William Hill, which eventually got sold to Caesars, and they have a location there at the arena. It's kind of funny how that all worked out, that our old small bookmaking company is now owned by Caesars Palace. But anyways.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And I think one reason why we really wanted to have John, not because he's been in the industry for 3 generations, but he's also had a really cool hand in like teaching people and getting people kind of onboarded into the sports betting space. So we kind of want to open the floor up to John to just spend, 5-7 minutes just like kind of digging into kind of the most important topics he thinks that know.
And I have done a lot of training mainly for employees, but also just bettors in general. And when we open up a new location, there's always new customers that have never really touched sports betting before, or maybe they have just casually maybe bet on a Super Bowl or something. So I have just a couple simple slides I'm going to put up here, and I'm just going to go through some terminology and some things. Let's see here.
Yeah, this group's been.
Hold on a second. I'm just figuring out.
You're totally fine. This group has been excited to learn this through this March Madness experience. I think a lot of us can confidently speak on some of the topics of sports betting, like at least of the kind of the foundational things. So dive on right in for us.
Can you see that slide talking about sports betting terms?
Yeah.
Okay. So basic sports betting terms, and this is real basic, but this is the start of how it all works. So a bet is the same term as just a wager. They're interchangeable. The next thing, really the main way that at least basketball and football are bet is through a point spread. Mm-hmm. That point spread is just simply the points applied to the final score. So if you look at a final score and you bet the favorite, which the favorite is the team that's most likely going to win in people's handicapping or in people's thoughts, or they're just a better team in general that the public feels is the better team, they have to lay points, which subtracts points from the final score for that team. If you're betting on the underdog, which is the team that's not supposed to win or is not as good as the other team, they're going to get plus points. And those are always listed on the sports betting apps or in a retail location on a kiosk, on a odds display, and it'll show an actual number next to the team. that's the basic way of betting one team to win. Now, it's not the final score, it's the final score with the point spread applied. That sometimes can get confusing. Say in the NFL, when a game ends in a tie, some people think they're getting a refund, but remember the point spread always applies to it. The total or over under is simply adding both scores together and then figuring out if it was over or under what that predetermined total is. In football, say the total is 48 points. If two teams each, one team scores 21 and the other scores 20, that's only 41 points. Now it's the under bets would win, the over bets would lose. If the total's 48 and the final score is 30 to 20, that's 50 total points. The over bets would win. And that bet, the totals, is applied to the final score, and it's in every sport that you can bet on, all team sports. The money line is simply betting on who's going to win the game, and there's no point spread applied. Now, the way the money line works is when the favorite team or the team most likely to win, you have to bet more money to win less money. So say you might have to bet $200 to only win $100. But if you were to bet the underdog in that situation, you would bet $100 to say win $200. So you could get plus money. This was a big bet on this St. Peter's team in the Sweet 16. There were a big underdog in the game. So a lot of people wanted to bet them on the money line so they could get a bigger payday if they won the game. They did, of course.
What was the money line? Do you remember?
It was like 6-1. So
Gotcha.
yeah. So you bet $100 and you get back 600 plus your 100. So yeah, it was a big winner for a lot of people that hit that. The betting line, in general though, the betting line is always the point spread along with a money line. Generally, it's usually -110. Most books have the -110 applied to the point spread as well. So you're not just laying points, but you also have to bet 11 to win 10. And that's what we call in the industry the VIG, or the vigorish. The VIG is really where we have, as a bookmaker, we have an advantage over the betting public, and how we make money in the long term. We're taking bets on any and everything. So we apply this sort of small advantage against the player so that we can operate our business.
Mm-hmm. John, so what you're saying with the St. Peter's game is like you can, as you said, it's 6-1. So someone would bet only $100 and they could get $600 if they would have won, or 700 plus, 600 plus their $100.
Right. And they had to win the game outright though.
Mm-hmm.
Now on the point spread, you were getting like 8.5 points or whatever it was, so they could have lost by say 6 points and you would have still won your bet, but you would have been betting 11 to win 10 or 110 to win 100.
Awesome.
Now, getting into more multiplier type bets, there's parlays, teasers, and round robins. Now, these bets are multiple selections. So you're betting not just one team to win, you're betting, say, 3 teams to win or 10 teams to win. Some of them even go further than that, but generally you're betting more than one selection, and all of them must win for you to win your bet. Now, if they do win, you get paid more money, obviously, because it's harder to hit when you bet more than one game. These start off as just 2 teams. So a very popular bet on a TV football game is the side and the total. So the team and the total. So you say on a Monday night game, the Patriots are playing the Packers, and the Patriots, you want to bet the Patriots and the over. A very popular bet is to bet the favorite and the over on a TV game. These parlays are really where the bookmakers honestly make our money, because we have a better theoretical advantage, which is a built-in edge for the bookmaker on parlays. The public likes to bet parlays because they bet a small amount to win a large amount. So they like to say, I want to just bet $20, but I want to get back 1,000. Well, yeah, you can bet that type of bet, but it's very difficult. Obviously, you got to hit a lot of bets to turn that 20 into 1,000. Where if you just bet it straight, you're just going to bet 22 to win 20. But it's simpler to hit. A teaser is basically the same thing as a parlay, except now we're going to add extra points, so it's easier for you to hit it. But in exchange for those extra points, we're going to pay you less. Now it's easier to hit. That's the tease. You're getting paid less though. And that's why they're called teasers. And basically it's a parlay where you're adding extra points to each of the teams or the totals that you're betting in your advantage.
John, can you define the extra point part for us?
So extra points, basically what it means, say the game is normally the Patriots are -7 points. They're the favorite to beat the Packers by 7 points. If you put them in a teaser and it's a 6-point teaser, then they would only be laying 1 point for you to win. You would only have to win by 1 point instead of 7 points.
Gotcha.
So we reduce the spread. If you're on the underdog side and the Packers are +7, then you would add 6 points to that. Now they're +13. So much easier for the Packers to win with the points against the Patriots if you're getting 13 versus if you're only getting 7. Same thing in reverse. If you're betting on the Patriots side, it's easier for you to win your bet if they're only laying 1 point instead of laying 7 points. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. A round robin is a simpler way of betting multiple parlays on a single ticket. So you could take 6 teams. You can bet all the 2-teamers, all the 3-teamers, all the 4-teamers, all the 5-teamers, and the 6-teamer all on one ticket. And it round robins all the different combinations of all those teams into multiple parlays on one ticket. And these can have hundreds of different ways of winning. You can partially win, say you only hit 3 out of the 6 teams. A couple 2-teamers might hit, 1 3-teamer might hit, but you lose all the 4-teamers and 5-teamers. So it's a way of grouping parlays together in a simpler fashion so that you can make a lot of different parlays, and if you hit them all, then you can get even a bigger payday. But it's the same basic format as the regular single parlay, but now you have multiple parlays on one ticket. So let me I have some terms in here. It's a pretty long list. I'll just send you this and you can send it around, but it has a lot of the slang terms that we use in the industry, like what a nickel line means.
Yeah, I guess instead of like diving into each one of those, I think maybe just kind of giving us like just some special like sports betting tips that you kind of recommend for the group, especially a group that's kind of getting into it, they're emerging to the space. Like what are like more higher like tips that you would give to people entering the space?
Yeah, so 2 things getting into sports betting. One is, so information is key in this industry, and when you're going to bet, you want to have as much information about what you're betting on. Try not to bet with your heart, bet with your head. That's probably the biggest one. People tend to bet with their heart a lot. They have their favorite team, they have the college they went to, they've been following a team for years. That may not be the right bet. It may be the right bet, it might not be. But bet with your head, do research, look at what the odds are around, shop lines. Anytime you can shop lines, you want to look for the best deal. Say you figured out you want to bet on the Patriots. Well, one sports book might have the Patriots -7, but another sports book might have them only -6.5. Well, that's a big advantage on a key number like 7 in football. There's key numbers in football like 3 and 7, right? Field goals win games. So if you're laying 3.5, that's a really big difference versus laying 2.5. It's a lot bigger difference there than say 2.5 or 1.5 because it's over that key number. So yeah, bet with your head, not your heart. Do some research, shop some lines, look around for the best deal, and make sure that when you're betting that you're taking everything into consideration on both sides of the game. A lot of people like to bet favorites and they like to bet overs because they want to bet the better team and they want to bet for a lot of scoring because everybody likes to see a lot of scoring, right? That being said, from our side, from on bookmaker side, we're always skewing odds towards those because we know the public's going to bet favorites and they're going to bet overs. So we usually make you lay more points than you should, and we make the game total higher than it should be. So definitely be looking at underdogs and unders for value. There's usually value in the line towards the underdog and towards the under, especially in the NFL more than anything, really.
Interesting. I guess real quick too, let's say you were looking into betting into one of like the Final Four games. What are like some numbers that you would look at to kind of get your research started?
You know, at the Final Four level now, you know, all these spreads are going to be pretty tight. I would guess that no one book is probably going to be more than a half a point off another, but I would still shop lines. I would still look at it. I think any of these 4 teams can win the whole thing. They're all blue blood, very, very solid programs. You know, I think if you're looking to bet every game, you're going to think, oh, I'll just put like a 4-team, you know, parlay together with the totals. I don't know. I think you should look at betting them straight. Possibly, maybe you throw in a small parlay on something, but remember that the house edge is usually higher on parlays than straight bets, generally is the rule. You know, and then at this point though, you know, there's not a lot of handicapping you can really do. I mean, if you've been watching the tournament, you can see which teams look like they're playing pretty hot right now. I think North Carolina's playing pretty hot right now. They kind of got on a run lately that maybe they didn't have. You know, they really weren't as hot during the regular season, hence they were the 8th seed. But you know, they're just one of those teams that can really turn it on. But we'll see. Love the tournament. It's one of the biggest events in the sports betting industry by far. It rivals the Super Bowl for us. Those first 4 days of the tournament are so exciting with all the different games and upsets. And you know, when any small school like a St. Peter's can go out there and beat a Kentucky, it's a pretty cool thing to see. Not as much for Kentucky fans, but trust me, they've won plenty over the years.
Awesome. If you won't mind, could you stop sharing?
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry.
And then if anyone, I know I have another question, but if anyone else has any questions, I want you guys to feel free to pop on, either related to anything with sports betting or the basics or anything like that. I'll ask one more, but then you guys can pop in afterwards. John, you know, we're a part of a, Stacey, did you want to say something?
No, I was just gonna tell the ladies, don't be shy, that, you know, because we have a bookie on here. John is a friend, so don't feel intimidated to hop in and ask some questions.
And you can guys, feel free to even type it in the chat too, and I can say it as well if that's a little bit easier. But John, we've got to experience kind of a really cool thing, like being a women's sports betting group and kind of starting to dive into some of like the mentality of like women's sports betting and things like that. But I guess even more macro, you can see that like women getting into sports betting is kind of a newer thing. There hasn't been as many women in the industry as men in the past. So I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this about women's sports betting. That's something that's growing. It's something that's kind of staying the same.
So yeah, I'll go back a little bit of history. There has been some women in the industry over the years, but they were definitely small in numbers, not only on the betting side, but even on the bookmaking side. We've had a few over the years. I mean, in the Nevada industry, honestly, in our whole industry, I can count maybe 5 women that were really around going back 20 or 30 years. Now, recently, over the last 10 years, that's been growing and more now that sports betting is becoming legalized throughout the country and in other states and in new jurisdictions. It's really bringing more women into the fold, which is great to see. We've always believed here at US Bookmaking that it's an underserved market. It's a huge part of the growth of the industry is to get that demographic of women involved from an employment standpoint and also just from the betting standpoint. A lot of technology is helping it, making it less intimidating. There's more information out there. There's mobile applications, right? You can have it just on your phone. You can go in, you can use self-service terminals. It can be a little less intimidating to do that instead of walking up to a counter and having to deal with a person that may not be the most friendly. We all know if you've been into some sports books, we're not the best at customer service all the time. And sometimes it can be very intimidating to women and the other customers as well. There's usually alcohol involved and things like that in sports books. So that I think though the technology helps a lot, and groups like this. I mean, this is awesome that you guys are doing this and trying to educate and just take possibly some of the stigma off the industry as a whole. And you know, this isn't in the back the back smoky room anymore.
Right.
You know, we're all licensed and regulated now. We pay taxes. We have to be vetted. We have to have work cards and things. So it's definitely different than the illegal market.
Yeah. And Stacey, I didn't want you to kind of talk about a second too. Like, he has this really interesting point of view about where he's at the country, but I mean, you're East Coast. Is this kind of similar to what you're seeing over there?
Sorry.
But yeah, absolutely. And John, he's familiar with the DC market as well. Let me cut my camera off by mistake here. Hold on one second. But yeah, no, we're seeing definitely a lot of women are becoming way more interested, trying to learn. It's really, it takes quite a bit it's a learning curve. So it's just about, it'll be interesting to see how we stick with getting through the learning curve to make it more of a natural thing to be able to do. So we're definitely seeing a lot more women interested in the space. It's just trying to figure out, how do I get started? And that's what we wanted to provide here.
Yeah. Wow, well, this has been awesome. I know we went over our 15 minutes, but it was so interesting hearing your topics on what you're talking about. So if there's no other questions, we can kind of close it off here. But John, thank you so much for coming on here and speaking to us today.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I like doing this kind of thing. So you know, we could probably do something in the future.
Cool.
Well, also too, Lindsay, I think you asked John, who do you think is going to take the March Madness? Do you want to give us some
John,
March Madness? So,
I kind of said it earlier. I think I like North Carolina to win it. We'll see though.
Yeah. Okay, he said it, North Carolina. We got some North Carolina fans in this mix, so kind of on board with it too.
Yeah, we've had a hard time. We've gone back and forth with North Carolina and Duke quite a bit, and every time we don't bet, they pull through. So we got to get more confident in going with our first gut. We talk ourselves out of it too, John. Like or maybe we need to find a way to maybe bet smaller and just sort of get more comfortable with betting as a whole, and being okay to lose. Like, it's okay to lose, even though we don't want to be losers. This is a non-losing group.
No, but that's a good point. Don't set a budget. Don't get overextended in this. You know, it should be entertainment. It shouldn't be like, don't be betting your mortgage on anything. So
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much.